Welcome to Community Update from the Department of Senior Affairs. I'm your host, Ed Nunez. Today's title of the show is Technology, a Tool, Not a Weapon. And with us to discuss that is Erica Davis, Special Projects Coordinator of Outreach at the Office of the Attorney General. And Erica, thanks so much for being our guest.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I think one of the things that I do want to preface this with is that, this is a cyberspace and it's about kids bullying kids on internet. And boy, that's a big project. You and I discussed this a couple of minutes. And I work for the Department of Senior Affairs, but I work at Manzano Mesa Multi-Generational Center. I'm the manager there. And you were out there a couple of weeks ago doing a presentation on this. Mm-hmm. And this is so important. I mean, you and I just barely touched on this in 2 or 3 minutes, and my mind was whirling already because we're living in a different age here, Erica. Mm-hmm. There's bullying that goes on to your face, by looks and glares. It's way different now, way different. And, I read about it a lot. And, so it's such a different, and I asked you and your cohort, Heather Sandoval, what are we raising, these days? And that doesn't mean that it's all bad. Information is at the touch of a fingertip, and it's not, yeah.
But it's coming in from a preventative side. One of the things when I go in, we tell them, our founding fathers did not see the internet coming. They didn't see social media coming. So we have to regulate this uncharted gray space. And that means we got to put laws in place. That means we need to have, various branches in place, and we have to label what is what. And that's hard when you're talking about something that's global and something that once you hit send, it's instantaneously everywhere. And so it's kind of hard to navigate that. And the work that we do, I'm the lead presenter for cyber safety. My coworker who you met, my teammate, she's the lead presenter for teen dating violence, and we do 4 presentations altogether for the Youth Wellness Initiative because they all correlate and they all overlap, if you will. And one of the things that we're starting to see as to why we even really began this was we have internet crimes against children stationed in our 3 offices, Cruces, Santa Fe, and Albuquerque. And it's their job to, get those creeps and those perps and protect our kiddos. But one of the things they started noticing was that they got to start prosecuting our kiddos for the way that they're behaving online. And it's seen as harassment, it's seen as a threat. And if things that you're doing can be seen in that manner or that perspective, we have to take it seriously as law enforcement. And so we're coming from a preventative side because we are, working the legislature. We are in the streets doing what we need to do to protect our kids. We don't want to be in your house with you talking about what your child posted on Instagram and why it's inappropriate and what can happen and what you could be facing. We'd much rather work that end than have to, protect our kids from themselves. So if we come through with the information that we have, that we've acquired, that we've developed, hopefully we can make that change because we're starting to see a very unhealthy trend with what's happening in our schools and what's happening in our communities with our kids and the internet.
Seems to be going to getting worse than better. And I don't know that plays into educational grades and scores. I don't know. I would think it does in some way. And, because people are so used to spending so much time. I used to have to tell my son, put the phone down and have a conversation with your mother and I. And, he's good about that. But, I think we're all in some ways glued to our phone. That includes me. Sometimes, I think we all are. It's right there. And
well, the one thing that I see for me personally, you can look at a toddler playing Candy Crush or a game on a tablet, but they're not potty trained. It's the generations now and coming up, is just inherent and native to them to be working with this type of technology and these devices, as where for us, we're still learning. And, my 8-year-old son, he shows me how to update my phone sometimes, and he's like, Mom, and I'm like, don't do that. I had to show you how to use this phone. But at the same time, we have them just knowing that this is what's in their hands, and they don't understand that we have to make that connection that you know, you still need to behave, or you still need to have though be mindful and be conscious, and you need to be aware of who you're engaging with. Cyberspace in the real world, the one difference is that person is behind a screen. So we still got to work on that protection factor for our kiddos.
One of the things I wanted to ask, we kind of got hung up there. And this
Yeah,
is a
that's
subject,
all right.
believe me,
That's all
that you
right.
need 30 more, you need
It's-
probably
yeah.
2 days to discuss, maybe
We
even
do.
more than that.
We do.
But can you talk about the Office of the Attorney General's Youth Wellness Campaign and specifically how cyber safety fits into that curriculum? That was one of the questions you
Oh
have for us.
yeah, our youth wellness campaign, as we mentioned, we kind of addressed it. I present for cyber safety and suicide awareness, Healthy Minds.
Oh, suicide awareness as well.
It's
Okay.
a big deal.
That's huge too.
Second leading cause of death for 15 to 24-year-olds is suicide, and
Oh, man,
that
when I hear
tells
that,
you
that just- yeah,
it makes
that
it just
crushes me.
kind
It
of
does.
rips your heart out. And one of the things with cyber safety, we have teen dating violence. My coworker Heather, we both do cyber safety and teen dating violence as needed. We are the 2 presenters pretty much for the state of New Mexico, and we have financial literacy for the older kiddos, and like your juniors, your seniors, stuff like that. The kiddos getting ready to head out for college and begin that new adventure. And the reason we do our youth wellness campaign initiative is because we want our kids to be aware. We need them to be functional members of society, of course, and we don't know what they're getting at home, what they are, what they're not getting, and it's really about establishing that connection and building the awareness of, if you are going through things online or you are being bullied, be it face-to-face, be it on the internet, there are steps you can take so they can be empowered, so they can be educated. We don't want to see, victims walking around. We want them to know that, one, we have your back. There are people that have signed up strictly to be of assistance to them, from our special agents to our prosecutors to, me and my coworker Heather and the outreach team and the outreach division at the Attorney General's office. It's all just really important because we need to see our next generation have healthy boundaries and healthy standards, because we're looking at our next Attorney
Gotta
General.
start somewhere.
We're
You have to
looking
start
at our
somewhere, right.
nurses, we're looking at our engineers, our authors, and one of the things about the internet is you have a cyber footprint. So if I talk mess to you face to face, or if I used to be a fighter back in the day and I used to be that messy whoever in the neighborhood, you would have to hear about that. Well, if you do it online, there's a track, there's a cyber footprint.
Everybody knows.
And so when you're going to apply for that job, when you're going to
Oh,
apply for
boy.
that college, they're
Consequences,
going to be
yeah.
like, hey, you're not who you say you are on paper. So it's about kind of building that integrity and that mindset in them, because no one really saw the internet coming in this fashion.
Holy moly, no.
It's a lot.
Absolutely not.
And so that's what we do. We've seen altogether collectively about 18,000 kids since November. And we've been in 17 cities since November. We'll present to 3 people, parents and students alike, and communities like you saw me at,
Right,
the
in Gonzalo Mesa.
Multi-General Center. We'll present to 3 people. I've presented to 2,100 people. So it doesn't matter. We just want it out there to let it be known, this is a support, and we have the information you need, and we give the overview, and we have some resources as well, and then we're completely accessible. So
That's so important. Boy,
It is.
I'm glad
It's really
we're
important.
getting this on. But let's move on to a couple more of these questions. How was the curriculum developed, and how did you decide which topics to address? Because you know what? You went through a wide swath there, man. And
a
you
lot.
know, the teen suicide, I got to tell you just one quick story. I remember when I was a sophomore at Highland High School, and I just transferred from St. Pius High School, and I still remember a senior had committed suicide, and I didn't even know him, but it just punched me in the chest, like, wow, I didn't even know that, but it's always really bothered me.
Oh, yeah.
So you mentioned a wide swath of,
Yeah, we have a whole-
topics there. How did you
Yeah,
decide that? Or your team did? How did
our team did. We work really close with National Center for Missing and Exploited Children out in DC. They give us a lot of the materials because they're like the first responders on the national level, if you will,
Right.
for what's going on. Human trafficking, sex trafficking is very real. Cyberbullying that turns into harassment, threats, and insults that can be taken as hate crime and hate crimes. Those are very serious offenses, and we got 12 and 11-year-olds, dealing with that. And so we ended up developing this presentation to kind of hit what we can in an hour period, from, you know, stranger danger online and the internet and the predators that are there, and what we need to do with, we talk a lot about a story, a young woman named Alicia Kachekowicz. She was made a friend online, and this person perpetrated to be another young woman, and they were friends, and her predator worked for months to acquire her trust, gain her trust, and isolate her as her best friend. They exchanged pictures, and then she was abducted, tortured, raped, all these insane, crazy things, and his sentence was only 20 years.
Only
and
20
this
for
was
that.
2002, so he's halfway done.
And good time behavior or anything, or was that just a straight sentence?
I don't know, because that didn't happen here, but I know my special agents, we work really closely with Internet Crimes Against Children. They're housed in 3 different cities, and they're never going to want for a job. So while people in our community and in our state are thinking, you know, CSI is a good show with good content, where do you think they get that from? So it's the things that they work on a day-to-day basis that they're like, this is what we're seeing. We got to protect our kids, to, oh my gosh, now we have to protect our kids from themselves, because they think that they can, you know, post the inappropriate pictures, create these hashtags, fake profiles, and screenshots that turn into really malicious things online. One of the things that we just see is that people use this as their platform, which is okay. That's one of the things we're saying. It's okay to have your platform and express your opinion and your views, but you don't do that at the detriment of another, at the expense of someone else. If it means to break someone else down or bully someone else or tell someone else
it's really hard.
Things.
You know, I got to say this. Just a quick comment.
Terrible.
It's hard, you know, to stop. Again, bullying happens, you know, at the physical, the glares, the looks. But now, people that normally
Keyboard
wouldn't
thugs.
do that. You got all the, you know, the appropriate emojis that go with them, or the, you know, and so it's, and then again, you mentioned that they're hiding behind a screen. You can't see them, and you're thinking. Some kids that don't get that, again, they're not fully developed. I always tell my son, you know, my son's 24, that frontal lobe of your brain
doesn't stop until 24.
Isn't developed
It doesn't
yet.
stop until 24. Yeah,
you know,
that's real.
So it's such a big issue, and we'll get to. I wanted to get some more.
Well, and when you go to the suicide effect as well, one of the things, because my first love and one of the primary reasons why we've adapted these 4 presentations is because we're top 5 for that unfortunate category of suicides in
Albuquerque or New
Mexico, top 5 in the nation as a state. And one of the things that we see with our young ones is the fact that they get bullied. And we've been in schools where there's been tragedies back to back. We've been in schools where, or in communities where we find things out and nobody really wants to talk about it. There's that stigma. And then when we start to dive into it, we find out that they've been bullied, you know, secretly, and nobody really said anything, or the kids knew something, but they thought, nothing. And so one of the things we advocate for is to, if you see something, say something. If you, because cyberbullying, this goes into, you're affecting now someone who might not be developed. Our kiddos depend so much on each other. You know, their self-esteem is dependent on what's going on with the likes and the validation in that aspect.
It's a whole different thing now. Some of those slam books back in the day.
Because it's virtual and it's viral.
Yeah,
so
I remember
that's
those
where
slam books.
I
still remember those in 7th grade.
We had them in when I was in high school. But I know one of the things with why we have all of these in one, or in one kind of big package, is because we've dealt with someone making a YouTube video and then taking an attempt on their life, outing everybody that has ever done them wrong, and and then it just kind of breaks your heart, because it's like, this is happening because someone posted something about you or your outfit or something. So we're seeing that we need to address this and you know, kind of rebuild our kids back up. And
this question here is really, I wanted to know more about this. This is what are some of the areas of concern for adolescents using the internet that you talk about? You just mentioned some of them.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, I mean, there's so much.
From making friends,
anything? Right.
Yes, it's meeting up offline. That is going to be our primary one in regard to their safety and the danger. Our kids have this false sense of security and this sense of invincibility. They all think they're Superman and Krypton is eons away. And one of the things that they do is they befriend any and everyone. And, oh, well, I'm going to go meet up with this person. I'm going to go do that. And, well, we know each other. They liked my pictures and I've seen their pictures. They don't know what they're walking into. Stranger danger is taking on a whole new level, just because anybody can be anyone behind that screen. That's why we talk about that story that happened back in 2002, Alicia Kachekowicz. So it's meeting up, it's engaging each other. That's going to be the next one. We end up kind of discussing like the facts of life, if you will. Like, the love of your life is never going to ask you for nudes, ever, because we are one of the states with the revenge porn law, meaning, yes, in the legislature, it changed up a little bit. Okay, sexting between consenting minors is somewhat legal, but then they break up, and then that's where we come in, and then that whole okaying it kind of deviates, and we see this monster. So we're working so hard. We're working on the front lines in the legislature, we're working in the community, and then we're working in these schools. And people are kind of seeing, oh, it's not that bad. No, we have young women that go on to CVIP, or young men even, child victims database. They gotta stay there if they have exploited photos of themselves on the internet. And if we acquire a predator, then we got to check in and make sure that this person there wasn't a further offense. And I mean, it spirals out of control. And then once these images leak in these high schools, and what we're dealing with young women, young men with deteriorated self-esteem to the effect of where they almost suffer extreme anxiety, extreme depression. And then here we go, because most of the 90% of the individuals who died by suicide had a treatable mental illness at their time of death. And then to know the second leading cause of death for 15 to 24-year-olds is suicide, and to see what our kids go through with making all these permanent decisions to temporary situations, it blows our mind. So we have to protect them on every front, and we don't know what they're getting at home. Our teachers, they're like right there with them, and they still have to obtain these standards and such with what they go through for their, job in itself. So we just want to come in and be that further support system. And it's a whole nother ballgame when you're hearing it from the people that walk it through their office, predators, or we're doing investigations, and our special agents that are just out there. I mean, our special agents would do the cyber safety presentation if they had the capacity. They're doing so much in the community, trials, etc. So that's where outreach comes in, and we're just that further form of support. So that's why it's so important. It's so important. There's so many topics we cover, and we have to kind of do the blanket, and then we'll do follow-ups. A lot of the things we're noticing right now, schools want to have an awareness week, which is beautiful. And one of the things we started in middle school, we started in high school and middle school, 6th grade and up, and then we were kind of evaluating with our middle schoolers, when did you start hearing about sexting? When did you start getting invited to meet up with people you don't know? Oh, like 5th grade when I got my phone. And it's like, oh my gosh, okay, let's go to elementary school, because if we can change it there while they're still impressionable and those little sponges. And I've had kiddos, I think we've seen 200 5th graders, and they're like, I have a cell phone, miss, I'm gonna get rid of my Instagram, I don't need it. You're right. And it's not so much that we're saying don't be on Instagram, don't be on social media. It's that we're saying make the right choices, watch who you filter your profiles, who's looking at you. Not everybody needs to look at you. And this goes for adults, those parents that are posting pictures, my baby's 100th day at, whatever elementary school. No. Like, once upon a time when predators had to work to acquire information, it's a whole nother ballgame. You give it out for free. So that's what we're dealing with.
So
that's what we do. Yeah, that's
they
what
must
we're
be
dealing
having
with.
a field day, predators. I mean,
we work really hard I can't sit here and say that we're not meeting them where they at, but at the same, because our special agents work so hard, and it's such an honor to be a part of their team. It's just, we got our hands full. And if we can do the prevention side, prevention over, reaction and postvention is so much better than, having to deal with that reaction and postvention to a traumatic or a terrible, situation.
Outcome, like you mentioned. I think the other thing is, we talked about prevention, and earlier about gangs, prevent them from gangs, and this is a whole different gang.
Yeah,
because it really is.
It is.
Because again, everybody wants to be popular, and some kids, are
that validation
introverts,
that they might need.
but even they need their own validation, and the thing is, you mentioned that there's so many people that are just not who they say they are, and they want to be somebody different, and that cyberspace or cyberbullying allows them to be something that they never would be in real life.
Exactly.
And that's the scary part, because well, that's
because then you want to be somebody different when it's time to go be a grown up, and it's like, but wait, this is how your employers, anybody can see what you've been posting and doing and saying, and it's like, wait, you always have to be aware of that. It's putting our kids into that awareness of themselves.
I think one of the things that I see sometimes, even from adults, sometimes I'll see some things that I read and I'm like, I'll read it again, like, are you serious? And you know what? And I stay away from commenting on most of those because all you're going to do is just start something.
Fuel the fire.
Right. So sometimes I'm like, man.
Well, they don't have good role models. They don't have good
Right.
examples in these celebrities. And I won't name too many, but I'm sure you guys can think of some. But they see these things. And then for what I teach, because I have 2 children, and my daughter says, you know, because for sexting and things of that nature, for minors is illegal because you get into child pornography, you get into exploitation. And we go in here and we just work so hard. And then you're standing in the checkout at a grocery store, and my daughter says, "Mommy, isn't this what you tell kids not to do?" And it's like sexting, 100 ways to get your man to get back in the relationship. Something that, you know, media in America doesn't see is that their audience are minors, and they're over here like, oh, this is how I get a man. This is how I maintain a relationship. This is how I get the girl. And they don't understand that they're exploiting themselves and that's not where you need to be. And they just don't have good role models. And we're just kind of coming in and saying, you know yourself and do better and think things through.
It's so hard too because, you know, we're dealing with adolescents, we're dealing with kids
growing
that aren't mature,
minds,
you know,
yes.
and then, you know, again, things are like you said. One day we're going to stop, and then the next day someone says, you know, something, and you drags them back in. So we got your job security is going to be there for the next 100 years. So I wanted to ask you too, Erica, what are some safety tips your office offers students and families to keep them safe online? I think this is very key. Whether people use them or not, they still need to hear it.
One of the things, because the other thing is for senior affairs, being that this is the segment, we also offer this for seniors as well because they have another realm: identity theft, scams, etc.
Yeah, that's another show. We can definitely go into that.
We got somebody
should.
for that as well.
Yeah.
But one of the things, this is like across the board in the spectrum. But one of the things that we advocate for is for our adults to be the trusted adult. That's a resource, you know, for our students. You need to be that trusted adult for our students. If they're going through something, we are so often, the last to know I shared with you when we were talking out there, every school we go into, they say 80%, 90% of our issues start online before I'm, you know, breaking up a fight in class, it always starts online before then. So be that trusted adult, get familiar, sit and talk to the kids. Hey, what's the new hashtag this month? What's the new app? You know, sit and get, it requires developing that connection in that relationship, being that trusted adult. You can contact NECMEC. I know a lot of our schools and even us, there's a protocol if there is a cyber issue. You know, you can report it to law enforcement if necessary. There's things called predatory behavior. You know, if our kiddos unfriend, or even if our adults, if you unfriend somebody, they friend you back and they're it's sketchy, go with your gut. Like we do what I call life hacks in our presentation, like trust your gut, know yourself. If it's sketchy, it probably is. Let somebody know, because I can guarantee our special agents are working that end already. We've gotten so many leads and things like that off of the cities that we go to, just by saying, you know what, because their kids are thinking snitches get stitches, or I don't want to be a tattletale. And it's like, no, we're trying to protect you.
Right.
Like your life is on the line now. So one of the things is, you know, be the resource. And then for our adults, you know, go to law enforcement, NECMEC, 1-800-CYBER-TIP, the cyber tip line.
So there are options and avenues.
There are actions.
Okay.
You can Google phone protection measures, I think phone securities, and you can get like a free trial for 30 days. You can disable a camera on the phone, and if you're a parent and you have the control of that line.
Those are very important tips.
Yeah.
Very important.
Google
there are
those.
things.
Yeah, there are things.
You just don't have to, you know.
You don't have to fall back and say, oh my gosh, you know.
Disabling the camera is very important.
I mean, I wish we could just take selfies off, period. But you know, I think, but there's things you can research and just Google, because we can't advocate for a specific one, but we've done our research and so many awesome things come up. Phone security
Short
measures.
of taking the phone away. You know, some parents are going to want to be in contact with their
We
kid.
got to go through with our kids.
You can take those options away, though.
We do parent universities often, and they tell us, I don't want to fight with my kid. I don't want that problem. What do I do? And it's like, no, you need to tell them you're trying to protect them, because it's a different story when principal's calling you to suspend them.
You know, it's kind of
So-
funny that you know, parenting. And again, there's great parents out there, but
Yeah.
back in the day, it was my father was like, "This is the way it is. That's the way it is." You know, there wasn't. You know, he didn't.
Gavel.
You know, he wasn't.
Yeah.
He loved him. He's a good man. Both my parents.
But you
it
don't
was-
question it.
They,
It's a
they
different
weren't
time.
friends. They were like, "Hey, my dad was like this. You know, he's old school, man. It's the way it is. It wasn't like it was no negotiation. It's because this is why."
Gavel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, and it's not
Done.
now. It's like people
Yeah.
don't want to argue with her. You know, it's like, hey, it's for
We
your
go
own
through
good.
it.
And
Yeah.
maybe you won't see it. I say that to the kids I've worked with. You may not see it now, but you'll see what I'm talking about
my
later.
parents, and
Yeah.
and that's one thing that we kind of rest with our kids is, you know, we're here to protect you. We're here to be here for you, to help you be your best self. That won't happen if you aren't, you know, if you aren't mindful on the internet. You won't get into that school. We've talked to corporations and colleges, and they're like, oh yeah, we've declined that one because they're a walking liability for our institution. And you know, you got kids sitting back, and I do this in the presentation. I took all AP classes, and I did Habitat for Humanity in a third world country. Why doesn't this place want me? Why can't I get accepted in this internship? Well, you cyberbullied that girl, or you had one of the things that all kids always lean on is, well, it's freedom of speech. No, anything that threatens, offends, insults anybody else that can be taken as a direct threat, insult, anything is based on their race, religion, sexual orientation, anything that makes them unique. That's called a hate. That's a hate crime. That's
And
hate
it'll follow
speech.
you, like you
and
said.
not only that, that's the one. Like if we're dealing with kids and it's a cyber thing, and say they have charges and they're pending charges, and then we put the hate speech on there, which is a hate crime. In the state of New Mexico, you will do 365 days in jail, even if we dismiss all the rest. But because there's hate speech on there, that's a hate
So
crime.
1 full year.
And that you'll serve a year. And kids just aren't thinking. They spew all this hatred, and they're growing, they're developing, and that's one of the things. The resources to be the resource for your kids.
So easy
Get
to do
involved in
that.
what they're doing, and look into these apps for yourself. In my family, you know, my parents, and even for me, like they get the apps for their grandkids. You have to reconstruct and rebuild this village. That's really what we're trying to do through this, and showing that, you know, we're not just here to come in and scare you or to intimidate you. We want you to be aware.
Exactly.
We want you
Awareness,
to be empowered,
information. Yeah.
and let you know that we're here. You
That's
can
right.
call our office, and if it comes down to it and following protocol and everything, we'll step in. NECMEC can step in. Law enforcement can step in. There's protocol in place, and you can put measures on your phone. We're here for all of that. We're
And
here for it.
that's very important. We got a couple of minutes left, and I want
Sorry.
to get to. That's okay. You know, like I said, I'll be right alongside you. What are some steps parents can take, and this is very important, in order to help keep their kids safe online? You just mentioned some things to
Yeah.
me that I never even mentioned to my son about you know, when he got a phone. And I think it's important for you to at least list some things that parents, because they're probably thinking, oh, we can't do anything.
Oh,
We're not
yeah,
aware.
it's
We don't know who the
overwhelming.
contacts are. We don't know. We have
It's
no idea.
overwhelming.
I don't hear any news. So
It's-
what are some of the things they can do?
Honestly, one of the things that we advocate for in our office is do a phone check. Like, know who your kids are talking to. Get involved. And yeah, it's kind of hard, and kids want to be secretive. Just get involved and know their circle. And then some other things they can do, like I said, there's some safety measures you can Google to put in and install on the phone. You can get free trials. The one that's not coming to me right now, but you can regulate text messages or shut off, you know, service at a certain point, or shut off like the phone and incoming things, or it lets you know when pictures are being taken.
Okay, so it lets you know.
It can let you
Okay.
know when pictures are being
Very
taken.
important, all right.
And
Yeah, that's
but
very
and
important.
it is because
Yeah.
but once again, and then you can call us and we'll come in and researching what do certain texts mean, what do certain emojis mean. There's information. I don't want to say lean on Google, but we also have some handouts and some resources. Once again, we work really close with NECMEC, and they give us all sorts of things for free, so they can get a hold of us. And I'm serious. We've done parent nights, parent universities is what we call them, and what we've been a part of with APS. Community groups. We're going to hit in this afternoon. I'm going to go see Junior APD Academy. We're going to talk to Boy Scouts and their parents. We've talked. I mean, if you want to know, we're here for you. We're going to walk alongside you.
So you got all kinds
Yeah.
of different things. Got about a minute left, and you know, if you could just wrap this whole thing for us, it's again great information, Erica, and people need to know these things. About a minute left. Wrap it up for us.
We offer all of this. You can contact us. We're
Give us your
starting
contact
to. My contact number is area code 9137-131368. I know it's a different number, but that's what I'm using for work right now. My
Any
team
website or
outreach.
anything?
Right, our emails, EDAVIS CRUM as in Molly, P as in Purple, E Davis Crump at NMAG, like New Mexico Attorney General, .gov. And you email me, and I sit down with our outreach team, which is a new division to the attorney. This is the first administration that said we need outreach, which is a blessing. And we've made such an impact, and it's an honor to be doing it. So if you need us for teen dating violence awareness, setting those healthy boundaries in relationships, cyber safety, suicide awareness, financial literacy, we have it for you. Just call us. It's all free. And we have various measures to justify using instructional time for when school pops back up. And even being there, even now, we work Saturdays. We're here for our community, for our state. So
Erica, today's title was Technology, a Tool, Not a Weapon. Erica Davis, Special Projects Coordinator, Outreach, Office of the Attorney General.
Yes.
Thanks so much for being our guest.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. It was a great show.
Appreciate
You
it.
bet.
Thanks.
For the Department of Senior Affairs, I'm Ed Nunez.